Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, and today we're going to continue on sort of a continuation of the mini pallet project, the sign thing project. I'm going to make some hold down clamps for the mini pallet, and before we get into that though, I noticed some comments from a couple of the other channels that some people have been maybe making a couple of unkind comments about them reviewing merchandise, for the, to get the free merchandise. And these guys, they put in a lot of work making the video. They have to really dig hard to find something to make a video about, and then they've got to come up with materials for it. And sometimes, I've made a video before several times that you can run into $100 worth of materials just to make the video. So and these guys, I figured up the other day how much that guys in a mom and pop kind of channel my size, how much you get per view. That's 2 mils per view. And if you want to know how much a mil is 1/1000th of a dollar. So these guys, if they've got less than 20 or 30,000 subscribers, they're doing these videos just for the fun of it, because whatever compensation they get from AdSense is just chicken feed, That's why I don't care if they mark my videos for having firearms in them, which they really hate. They demonetize those, and it doesn't matter to me because I'm losing such a little bit, it doesn't matter, But anyway, give these guys a little break, They need to get something for all their work doing the videos, and they can come up with a little pile of wrenches or some kind of cutting tools or something they use in the shop. They got it coming. That's the way I see it anyway. So give them a break, alright? Now that I've said all that stuff, let's get on with the video. This is what happens when the boss lady tells you the freezer's full of okra and nobody wants any more. So you just let it go to seed, and it's not really drying out like I thought it would. There's no telling how long this stuff could live. It's producing, and if I picked all these pods when they were smaller, it would still be producing a bunch of every week. Anyway, so my mission, if I should accept, which I already have, is to get rid of these 2 trees. They're nice flowering trees. They're crepe myrtle. I've already got that much of the stuff cut down, and I've got this pile of mulch building up here. Sort of tried to change my aim there. Excuse all the stumbling around. It's not easy out here in the midst of all this junk. But I guess I've got about half of that one cut down, and a lot of it mulched, and then this big one here is next. So that's an awful lot of gnarly limbs. But I got tired of trying to keep the limbs trimmed back so they wouldn't break the shingles off my garage in a hurricane or something. I'm going to cut them right down to the ground. That guy gets easier to use once you learn how. You want to make sure you never leave anything in the chute, because you won't be able to start it if it rolls down in the cutters. But it'll take me in better stuff than I thought. I just had to learn how to use it. It's true. Every project starts on the bandsaw. That's where this one starts. I always make a recommendation to people to get a knee vise instead of one of these column type knee vise. A knee mill instead of one of these column type like this, because what you can do with a knee mill is you can come along and tram your vise and say that the back side of this vise is Y. Every time you come in, after you've trimmed your vise, every time you come in, that's always going to be Y, and it'll be remembered by your DRO. And you can even make this end of the vise X0, So those 2 things wouldn't change until you take the vise off of the machine. You you can see the benefits of a knee mill, but if you need longer tools in here, run the spindle up. If you still need room, you crank the table straight down, but X and Y stay exactly where they were. Not so with this guy with the column here. When I move it, X and Y moves. When I lift it up, it can swivel around, you know, back and forth around. That means that X and Y aren't where they were the last time. And invariably you're going to need some other tool here besides what you've got. So that's why you see me finding the edge with an edge finder so often, is I've moved the head up or down, and X and Y are not where they were before. It's annoying and inconvenient, and it's just the way things are. Alright, so I've laid out a few sanity marks there with my Randy Richard scribe, and I'm going to go down the end of it and make some little starter holes to drill for a 1/4 inch hole. And when I get that done, then I'm going to come over and I'm going to drill a couple little starter holes there for a slot. And I'm going to drill all the holes needed for the, you know, for the hold down clamps before I ever cut them apart. Okay, and I'm even going to cut the little edge, you know, the little angle on the edge there before I get started doing anything. I don't know what you're seeing and what I'm doing, but you zoom it back out. Anyway, I'm going to drill all the holes here, and they'll be threaded, the ones along the edge. I'm going to drill a hole so I can cut slots running out this way. And after I get all that done and threaded, then I'll put that actually on that, darn it, my so-called sign plate on the mini pallet, and cut the angle on the edge for the clamps. And then I'll take my bandsaw and separate them, and then try to even up the edges on them, you know, square them up a bit once I've got that done. So here goes nothing. I'm going to set that as X0, and I'm going to set it as Y0, even though it doesn't really matter. And these things being clamps, I can be off a 1/16 of an inch without it really being an important sin. You know what I'm saying? Alright, so let's get on it. So instead of boring you with drilling that little part, I'm going to put you to sleep, and I'm going to drill that little bit, and I'll come back and show you what we're doing on the next step. Alright, so there's a nice little row of countersunk or center drilled sort of holes so my bit will stay straight. And now I'm going to drill the little boogers coming back this way. I've got the holes at every 3/4 inch along there. And all I've got to do is just drill these little boogers out with a number 7 drill bit heading the other way. Now if you make a 1/4 thread and you want a 75% thread, you use a number 7 drill bit. If you want a 50% thread, you use a 7/32. Most of the cheap bolts and stuff I got around here fit better in a 50% thread, because a lot of them, especially those from Tractor Supply, the threads aren't cut deep enough for a 75% thread. So I would be making 50% threads right now, except I lost my drill bit somewhere around here, and I guess I'm going to just give up and order another one. Alright, so while you sleep, I'll drill all the way back across, and then we'll get a tap and tap the other direction. Alright, so now we got a string of holes ready for the tap, and so I'm going to crank this machine up and let it run the tap in. It won't reverse. I'm going to have to get a reversing switch for it, because the motor can be reversed. So I think that's probably the biggest improvement I can make in this machine, is to add on a switch to reverse the motor. So anyway, I've got to go get the tap, and I'll be right back. Now that I've switched out the tool, I've got a tap in there, and we're going to try to walk back the other direction, tapping on these holes. I'm going to use just some regular oil on it. I think that'll do the job, and we'll see if it doesn't do better being the right size tap for the for the screw. I mean for the drill bit hole. No, the right screw for the hole. Whatever. That got it started. If you can see quite well, if there's not room in there for a tap handle, I'll just get my adjustable spanner and run it in and back it out, and then we'll move to the next one and start it just like that one all the way across. Well, I guess it would surprise you to note the old geezer broke off a tap right there. So instead of having 12 clamps, I'll have 11, which is not the end of the world. It's just disappointing that I did that. I think tomorrow I'll go buy myself a real sure enough tap handle. I've got 2 or 3 tap handles around here that are missing parts, so I'll try to get one that's all in one piece and get back on it tomorrow. But it's after 8 and I'm ready to knock it off. I've been all week I've been going out and spending 2 or 3 hours a day trying to cut down the crepe myrtles and mulch them up, and I've got one of them maybe a little past halfway cut down, you know, so we'll have to get back on that pretty soon too. Alright, so now I'm going to drill a starting hole so that when I put my end mill in there, I don't have to worry about whether it's a center cutting end mill or not. And I'm not doing anything sophisticated here, like, you know, starting a center drill or anything. I'm just going to shove these down and let them start themselves a hole, and then just push them right on through. And it seems to be working. Like I say, these are just simple clamps. They don't have to be within, you know, closer than a 1/16 of an inch to the plan. I went to Wally World today while the boss lady was getting her hair fixed, and I looked around and went by the sporting goods, and I saw they had a bunch of that cheap tool ammo and 45 ECP. And since I went last Sunday and shot up most of what I had at the bowling pin match, I figured I would buy some. If you've never bought ammo at Walmart, you know it's an experience. First off, you got to call the operator and ask to have somebody come around there with keys to unlock the thing. And in about a half an hour, you have to call the operator back again and remind her you're waiting for somebody to come around there with the keys. And after a while, if you're still interested, well, somebody will show up. I wouldn't wait around like that if it wasn't so cheap, you know, and I'm cheap and ammo's cheap, so I waited. So some little girl from the automotive department showed up and she had the keys, and so she opened, "What do you want?" I told somebody 45 ACP right here. I said, "In fact, just give me the whole stack." There was 5 boxes stacked up there. And she looked all shocked. She said, "Well, I don't know if I can give you the whole stack." And I said, "Well, I don't see why not. That there's no federal law that limits how much you can buy." And I said, "And the ammo shortage is over, and as far as I know, Walmart doesn't have any you know, restrictions on it anymore now that now that the stuff's plentiful." "Well, I just don't know if I can sell you the whole stack." And she knocked one of them off the stack back behind it, but then there was just 4 on it. And I said, "Well, why don't you call the manager and ask him if it's okay?" "Well," she said, "I'll sell it to you this time." So she pulled out 4 little 50-round boxes and hauled them around to the automotive register and checked me out. But she was displeased with me all the way around. I think she must have been one of those gun grabber types and totally disapproving that I'd want more than one box of ammo. I didn't tell her that the 4 boxes I got was really 4 boxes too few. But, you know, I got all they had but 1 box. I mean, like I say, it's cheap. It's the cheap Russian stuff. Steel cases, steel bullets. Not the kind of thing I'd ordinarily buy, but like I say, I'm cheap. Alright, now I gotta cut slots, and I'm just, I think I'm gonna use this end mill to sort of drill half of a hole, half of a hole, half of a hole, till I get it, you know, the slot finished. I'm not gonna make the slot more than about 1 inch. This is wider than I want, and I may come along and cut the little taper on it so that about 1 inch of it falls off. We'll see when I get there. Haven't totally made my mind up yet. But nevertheless, we're going to sort of drill down into it. I think that's a faster method than cranking the end mill sideways at 1/8 of an inch, you know, depth. It's just about the full reach of this thing before I have to reposition the head. If I had to go any deeper, I'd have to let the head down, and then X and Y would disappear from where they were. I was running that end mill way too slow, so I went over and looked on the chart. I'm lazy, I have to use charts to these things. And it said I could run it 1,000 to 1,200 instead of 200 to 300. So I sped it up, and maybe I can get these holes finished a little bit quicker, because that's taking a while. And I think I may just feed the thing sideways instead of drilling on the holes. I imagine that the most of you are aware that I'm not a machinist, so I'm sort of feeling my way along here. The first cut I went down 3 steps to get cut through it, and I made it 2 thousandths over to each side, you know, an extra pass to widen the thing by 2 thousandths. It's 4 thousandths above the size of the end mill. The next one I just moved over and made it 2 thousandths larger than the end mill, and I still did it in 3 steps. Well, this last one I made in 2 steps. It's a 1/4 inch end mill, so I ran it down 1/8 of an inch, which I understand you're allowed to go as much as half the diameter of the end mill in depth. And I didn't make it any wider, and the bolt fits just fine in the third one, just like the others. A little tighter, but still it's easy to turn. So I think that's how I'll do the rest of them. I'll come down 1/8, cut it out, come down 1/8 and cut it back. I'll be through with each one of them like that. I'm hoping I don't cut one down there where I broke off the tap. Instead of doing all that work, just going to throw that piece away anyway. Well, that's it right there. We're going to have 10 clamps, because old Bozo come visited me one more time while I was doing this. You know, he's a very persuasive guy. He always says, this is boring as everything. Let your mind wander into something more interesting, and so on. So I cut one of the slots 1/4 of an inch longer than I wanted. And then he came back. He wasn't through, and then I started dipped my end mill down in here and started cutting this slot the wrong direction. So there you go. We're going to have 10 clamps instead of 12. But that'll be 10 more than I had before I started. So I'm not going to cry about it. I decided to work just a few minutes longer. As you can see, this is 0 according to the level of the vise. I set this guy up here, and that's 15.45 degrees. And I can probably get even more than that if I think I need it, but I don't really think I need a greater angle. I got that by stacking stuff underneath. Let me show you what I stacked. I stacked a few doohickeys under the under the bar there and increase the angle. And I could still stack, you know, maybe one more of them in there. But I think that's all the angle I need right now. So that's where I'm going to cut it. And what I'm going to do, I take this guy. I have neatly marked, well, where is it? I've marked all the places that I'm going to cut it with a bandsaw already with my Randy Richards scribe. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this guy on here and bolt him down and come along and cut the little angle that's always on the tip of this sort of thing. And the way I'm going to hold it is just to put a screw in the slots there. They're not perfectly deburred yet because I didn't want to take off all my Earlier when I said I didn't have a tap handle, I misspoke. What I meant is I don't have a good tap wrench. I got lots of these guys, some with holes in them, some without, you know, so that's what I meant. That's not what I said, but it's what I meant. I ordered anyway. I got on eBay last night and bought a tap wrench, which will be here any day now. Alright, so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to let this thing down till it starts to make a cut down in it a little bit. Now, I've just arbitrarily picked this spot. It's not a part of the plan or anything. And I'll sink it down in there a ways, and then I'll cut across, and then I'll bring it back here, and then I'll feed this guy over and make another cut. And that's the way I'm going to do it. I don't know if it's right, wrong, or what, but that's how I'm going to do it. The edge of that, meaning this edge right here, right below the thick spot, should be thin enough to cut it with a bandsaw really quick and easy. And this time I really do mean I'm going to knock off until tomorrow. Boss lady's already come and told me it was time to knock off, so I guess it's time to knock off. And in a blink of an eye I'll be back to see you all again tomorrow, if indeed I'm not lying about it. Well, so I got that angle cut, and now I need to put it on the saw and cut off that little part right there. I'm just going to try to turn the bandsaw up and cut it off with that. It might work. I don't know. A lot of times when I try to use the bandsaw as an upright, you know, vertical saw, it don't work. The blade comes off a lot, so we'll see. After I got this just about done, it dawned on me that I'd been way ahead just to grab a 3/4 inch end mill, and I could have done it in 1 or 2 passes, you know, I guess maybe, yeah, 1 or 2, and it'd have been over real quick. That's, I guess, what you get from experience, which I don't have at this. This is my little pusher for when I get up close to stuff, and it looks like this thing's going to cut it. It's rattling and making a lot of racket, but it's cutting it pretty good. I'm not doing it real straight, but I didn't expect I would. Rare success, but it did it. So now I can put this back in the vise over there and cut the end flat into the right thickness. I think that's about right, and that'll cut all the problems out for me. far as I'm concerned, is got the edge completed. Now comes the long, monotonous part of sawing each individual piece off on the bandsaw. And I'll have to check to see if my scribed lines continue far enough off into the area without any glue on it. But next time I bring you back, I should have a pile of little pieces that I cut off on the bandsaw. And I'm not going to hand feed it to the bandsaw. I'm going to lay them in the vise and let it feed through all by itself. I'll just set her down there and cut on the lines. They won't be perfectly the exact same width or anything, and they probably won't be square, but I can straighten all that up in the mill once I got them separated into individual pieces. You guys can take a long nap this time, because it'll take a while to cut all that. Looking at that pile of clamps, you can see that they sort of stair step up in size. I was doing all of them by hand, and that didn't, by hand. The eyeball, setting the blade on it, and I finally decided there a minute ago to set a stop. So I'll have to put them in the grizzly there and make them all the same width, I guess. How else am I going to get a Randy Ritchie reward? I'll just drop them all in there and cut them to one setting. And that ought to make them all the same width. Nothing technical, just time consuming. Put a little copper wire down behind them against the removable jaw so that I can cut two pieces at one time. That way any variation of thickness will clamp down good and tight anyway. So while I'm cutting them off with the bandsaw, I'm equalizing the width over there on the grizzly. Alright, so I've worked out a way that I can mark these with a sort of a sanity check mark, and then put them over there on the milling machine on that mini pallet. I bring them over where they're both at the end comes to here, right there, and then I scribe a mark, roll the thing over, bring the end to that same mark, scribe a mark. I've got this set on 15 degrees, and I've got the mill vise set on 15 degrees, but the odds of those being exactly the same 15 degrees are, kind of slim, but at least the mark, when I cut up to the mark, I know I'm through. I know that this back part of this hole is very accurately done. If I shove it up against the first screw, tighten it down, and that'll hold it so that I can feed in. And like I said, the vise is set on 15 degrees there also. So let's sort of zoom in on it. And we'll cut that little end right there. I'm going to reposition you. We'll try one shot like this. It's getting to where it's in a position where both of us can't see at the same time. Maybe you can see the mark I'm trying to cut up to. I've also got the DRO set, so I know approximately where the X position should be when I'm at the mark. And I should have another 10 thousandths to go. think that's pretty close right there. Alright, so there you have it. 10 clamps finished. 3 of them are, these 3 are a little bit thinner than the others because I was setting the saw blade by eyeball, and so in trying to straighten them out I lost a lot more metal. And then I got smart enough to set a stop down there, so all the rest of them are wider than these 3, and they're all pretty much alike. So, but they will hold things down, and they've got the required bevel on the end of them, and there you are. They look like your average customary clamps, something that I took a long time to get around to doing. Well, let's go see if we can find anything out about the joke. Maybe I may have to do it because I think the dog's mad at me. It was bath time today. Well, I'm going to tell you all about Bubba here in a minute, but first I want to tell you, you need to go over to Michael McCoy's channel and watch his video about Granny and the X-Lax. I think you'll get a good laugh out of that. I know I did. Yeah, give it a shot. And anyway, the other day I come across Bubba's Uncle Bubba, and there he was, homeless out on the side of the road, you know, one of those cardboard signs, you know, we'll thank you for money. You know, he ain't going to do no work, I don't think. But anyway, he was out there with the sign, you know, and I said, how did you get into this situation, you know? And he says, well, he says, up to last week, he said, I had everything. He said, I had it all. He said, I had plenty to eat, and my clothes were washed and pressed, and I had a roof over my head, I had TV and the internet. I went to the gym and the pool and the library. He said, I was working on my MBA online. And he said, I had no bills and no debt. He said, I even had full medical and dental coverage. And, you know, I sort of felt sorry for him. I said, well, what happened to you? Was it drugs or alcohol or divorce? What was it? Uncle Bubba says, no. He said, well, none of that. He says, I got out of prison. Okay, it's I appreciate y'all watching, and until we get back here, y'all keep on keeping on. And if you'd like to subscribe, just go right on ahead. I'd like that. And leave comments. I like comments. Okay? Well, till later. See y'all around. Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.